You're listening to Kearney Live on 102.7 KPGZ. Kearney Live is presented by Kearney Trust Company. Kearney Trust, 310 West 92 Highway in Kearney. The phone number is 816-628-6666. And now here's the hosts of Kearney Live, Mike Davis and Jim Dickerson.
Thank you. Got a great studio audience here. They grow. It gets bigger every single week. There are many, many of them, and I see them up there in the balcony, too, by the way, looking good in here. And thanks to all of you who are listening to Kearney Live at home and on the road and anywhere on the planet, because, you know, you can listen to this radio station. Your hometown radio station, 102.7 FM, is available to be listened to anywhere you have internet. And so don't not listen. That's my first double negative of the day, and I'll probably use another one somewhere around the down the line. I did want to mention that Brian Watts, our producer, engineer, general manager, is the most. That's the studio audience appreciates you, Brian, as many in town do, because he is, as you know, the most popular man in Kearney. Brian doesn't have to buy a cocktail. He cannot walk up to a bar and insist that he pay for his own drink. People are constantly coming up to him. Whenever you're in a restaurant, you know, there will be a line trying to pay for Brian's meal. I mean, that's how popular he is, and we love him here. There's one other guy that Kearney knows and loves, and certainly I have missed him over the course of these last couple of weeks here on Kearney Live. Mr. Jim Dickerson is with us in studio today, and so happy to have you here, Jim.
It's good to be back.
Well, where was nobody clapped?
That's because
the sound of
nobody.
That's right. Sound of one hand clapping, I think, for a moment. But
so, yeah, I've been gone for a while. I've actually been out on some different things, and I was in Washington last week, and I was trying to get back here. I was doing a national program, on another network, I think is how they say it. And I was trying to race back and get back here, and I didn't make it. And we had talked a little bit about it, but it's kind of funny. So in today's environment, everything is Trump's fault.
Of course.
Know, when something goes wrong. And when I didn't make it back last week, it literally was Trump's fault. It really was.
That's funny.
We were getting ready to take off out of D.C. airport, and anytime that, because of the proximity of where the airport is in relation to, the White House and everything else, he was coming back from somewhere. But anyway, when they were landing at Andrews, of course, everything stops over at Reagan, and we were getting ready to take off, and we had to wait. And that delay is because it was going to be tight for me to get back to the show. But that delay, and, it was worth it.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I appreciate Mr. Donald Trump, our president.
But, but it's good to be back. Good to be back. Good to be back in the studio and see how you guys.
Absolutely. Kearney is just the kind of town that we have this radio station. Let me put it this way. You're our audience, Kearney, Missouri. We can't do this without you. We wouldn't do it without you. So there are a number of ways that we manage to stay in business, not the least of which is the sponsorship from the local businesses here in Kearney, Missouri. Right. I cannot, and I speak for all the volunteers and the folks here at the radio station, in saying thank you and expressing our gratitude to every one of you who help keep us on the air to benefit you, the community, with our programming, and at programs just like this, Kearney Live. But I did want to mention we have some new sponsors, brand new ones, and the first of those on that list that I see here is Betty's Place. Now, Betty's Place is one of the finest diners that I know. If you want to get comfortable and have comfort food while you're comfortable, go see Betty up in Holt, Missouri, and you'll get, by the way, pretty much any kind of pie that you want is available on a daily basis. But thank you, Betty. We appreciate you and your fine staff, and thanks for joining us here. In addition, we've got the best little hair house in Holt. Yes, that's what I said, the best little hair house in Holt, Missouri. Appreciate you, our new sponsorship, and also Choice Cabinet KC. Brian, they are kitchen renovations, right? in Liberty. And we've got some, I love that we're getting some sponsorship from surrounding communities. And,
but can we talk about Betty's Place for a minute?
Oh, boy. Let me tell you, Jim.
So I've been up there obviously before too. And so one of the things that you don't see very much, because we've gone into the kind of the franchise thing, everything is like everything else to a degree, and not completely. Betty's Place is it literally is kind of like what the name sounds like. It's Betty's Place.
Right.
And it literally, it is literally a home cooking. I mean, it's that old time, that old fashioned, what you really love stuff. I mean, it is really good.
Betty will give you a hard time too. That's one of the fun things about it. You go in there,
but it's like, it's almost, it is one step different than just the good old fashioned eating in your living room.
Yeah.
Or living
except
room,
the food's better.
The food is better.
I eat over the sink or in the living room.
Because when I used to have that Swanson's TV dinner.
Oh, mercy.
With Salisbury steak that was frozen.
Nothing like it. Yeah.
And my best part was the brownie.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers the brownie.
They had that little piece of apple pie in there, too. Remember those?
It's the brownie. Everybody lived for the brownie.
So
Remember in Risky Business when he tries to eat the frozen?
No.
You don't remember that?
No, Jim. Neither does anybody else.
Sure, Brian does.
He's shaking his head.
He was shaking his head. So Tom Cruise tried to eat the Salisbury steak frozen. Okay, never mind. Forget I brought it up.
Exactly.
Here we go.
Oh, Shelter Insurance, Bree
so
Schweitzer.
Glad to be back.
Bree has been a sponsor of ours, and she moved up a level, right? She's new. Okay. Well, I was thinking that maybe we had her as a football sponsor or somewhere along the line. Fireworks, that's what it was. Yeah. She has a coupon on the coupon page at 1027.
For fireworks.
Right. Well, I would imagine it'll come back this July. So.
But so that gives us a good opportunity to talk about, because a lot of people forget about that coupon page.
Please don't forget.
That's on the website. It worked so well for them that they had to call us and say, hold the coupon. Well, everybody was using it. So you can go to the coupon page, check it, because it changes often. And you can get some really good deals on there.
Right. It's been updated. And so now the coupons are readily visible on the page. So you don't have to click through twice to get through them. So it's just like looking at a newspaper page with coupons on it. Go to the coupon page. That's 1027carneymo.com/coupons. And have a look. And if you're a business and you want to drive store traffic, that's a good place to start. Trust me, I know it works. So Shelter Insurance, thank you, Bree, for being a part of this and so many other things in Kearney, too. We see you around at the chamber events and chamber functions, and thank you. We appreciate it. In studio today, wait a minute. Don't even get there. Well, let's just mention that we've got Jennifer Justus, who's going to be joining us here just in a few minutes. Oh, look her. There she is.
There you go.
And
she'll be up in just a minute. But before we get to her... number one, obviously, this is the first time I've been back since the Chiefs, and I didn't get to give my shout out to the Chiefs, so congratulations to those guys. Brian, by the way, is the biggest Chiefs fan you will ever see in your life. He doesn't know one player on the team, but other than that, he's a great fan.
He knows Pat Mahomes.
Except he keeps calling him Pete, but that's neither here nor there. But beyond that, I wanted to give a little shout out, because we were talking about it earlier, to the girls basketball team. The Bulldogs, man, they
Lady
are
Bulldogs.
on a roll. And if I recall, they've lost one game or something like that. I mean, it is amazing what they've done. So we are, as you know, on the Bulldog Radio Network, we carry the football games and the boys' basketball games, but I know that we've been doing a lot of special coverage on the girls' side as well. So kind of keep following, because I think, and I'm going to look over at Brian, I think we're trying to make arrangements for further, as games come up and certain things come up, we're trying to get some of the coverage going over there. And the guys that do the girls basketball, or the guys basketball, Andy and Dan, their coverage continues. But Brian, what are they doing?
Yeah, so Friday there's a doubleheader. It's girls and boys. Well, it's kind of quadruple. If you really like basketball, it's JV that day too.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yep,
cool.
All at home here. and we'll be covering that. And then next week we've got a boys game, and then we start into the postseason. And there's a number of times that'll be girls and boys as they move along. Will be on the same day, so double headers on the same day.
Are we doing all 4 games on Friday? We're not doing.
No, we're not doing JV.
I was going to say those guys would be exhausted after that. But
so girls start at 6:15 ish, and the boys right after.
Yeah, so tune in to Andy and Dan because they do great coverage of those basketball games. If you've never heard them, if you want to get caught up, you can always go to the website and go to our podcast. We have there's a catalog of not only all the basketball games, but all the football games we've done over the years going back as well. So if you are trying to remember that game where Buster Lawrence intercepted the ball in the end zone, you can go listen to that because it's on there.
Anyway, Buster would appreciate that.
Yeah, congratulations, though. Yeah. Congratulations to the girls, and keep up the good work. They're doing a great job over there.
No doubt about it. And just love hearing Dan Herman and Andy Martins do those play-by-play, and the guys just do a terrific job. And we talked about it. Basketball's hard to call. And, Jim Dickerson does a terrific job on the play-by-play for football. And,
yeah, but I get a break in between plays. I mean, the basketball just goes back and forth.
Does.
I did basketball a little bit, calling it in college, and I was like, "Would you guys slow down for just a second?" Because by the time they pass it 5 times back and forth, especially on the visiting team where you're not as familiar,
So try it at home sometime.
Yeah,
watch a basketball game, turn down the sound, and try to call it. It ain't easy.
They do a great job over on the Bulldog Radio Network.
I love the Bulldog Radio Network, and I love how you say that too. It sounds good on radio. Brian's giving us the hurry up sign. So, Jennifer, come on in. Get in this radio station. Come on.
Hey there.
Why are you here today? For goodness sakes.
I'm an interesting person. Everybody wants to listen, right?
That's what we heard. Yes.
Okay.
So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
If I'd have said that, there'd have been crickets. Because that's what our producer does to me.
Well, when you were talking about these players and people calling the game, what came to mind for me is, as a fan, I was exhausted from the amazing Chiefs journey.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine how those players felt. I know that they're young, but holy cow. It's awesome to have a championship. It's awesome to be the world champs, but it's kind of exhausting.
Yes, but let's remember back to 2015 when we went to the World Series, and in 2014, and remember how every game was going into extra innings, and then you'd have to turn around, and you were like, it was exhausting.
Not to mention, that we had to stay up late and watch
night after night. But as I've said before, and I still want to have happen, my goal before I die, and I'm running out of time.
Checking my watch.
My goal, what I really want to have happen, is have the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl and the Royals go to the World Series in the same year.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
So part 1 is complete, and I'm putting it on you guys, the Royals now, and I do like this new ownership team because the first thing they said out of the gate was, we want to focus on winning, and no.
Sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, but
that's always a good thing, isn't it?
Come on, bring home the championship.
Yeah, Captain Obvious.
But think back to Dan Glass. Dan Glass was, they won almost in spite of themselves. I hate to say that, but his interest and his main focus was not on winning, and he was pretty upfront about it. I mean, it was more of a financial investment, but these guys,
he's got the loser symbol over here.
I mean, these guys are all about winning, so I like the way,
Hey, we have inertia right now.
Yeah, right.
So, things in motion.
Right. Well,
stay in motion. We've got the good juju in Kansas City. We've got the Chiefs. We've got new ownership on the Royals. So, you know what? I think it's going to happen.
Those guys saw the Chiefs win, and now they're all excited
motivated
about winning, and they've got the new owner. I'm gonna hold reservation on my thoughts of the new manager. We'll see.
I'm going to remain hopeful.
I'm hopeful. I'm going to leave it at that.
If you're a Royals fan, you know what hope means.
And let's just keep it going.
Right, exactly.
But anyway.
I did want to mention, Jim, that Jennifer and her husband, who is a law enforcement officer in North Kansas City, and I see a picture right here on our Facebook page, and the two of you went to the Super Bowl. You were there in person.
We did. We are avid Chiefs fans. My husband's been a season ticket holder for 29 years. I've been a season ticket holder for 21 years, so we're very vested. AFC Championship, the whole nine, freezing our behinds
Oh,
off.
man.
And
When did you get tickets to the Super Bowl?
so
And bigger question, how?
Did you bet on the Chiefs to win in Vegas? And then
I did. I actually did.
Oh,
and
my
so did my
gosh.
father. And
at the beginning of the season or after?
late in the season.
Okay, all
Late in the
right.
season, my father happened to be out in Vegas, and he said, "Hey, do you want me to put a bet on for you?" And I said, "Yeah, throw $100 on it." So it didn't pay
Nice.
great late in the
I
season,
was
but
gonna
yeah,
say,
it
'cause
still
the
pays.
the odds were probably better. And when the odds would have been really good, I would think would have been when Mahomes went down with the knee thing.
Oh, yeah.
I bet
bet
the
you're
odds-
right. I'm not a big sports gambling person,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I
hey,
bet the
throw
Vegas-
$100 on the Chiefs. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love to play poker. That's my thing. If I get the opportunity to play poker, I used to play before I had kids and a husband. I used to actually play in the World Series of Poker a long time ago, but
Wow.
now,
I know
I'm
who
busy
not
with
to-
the PTO and Clay County
Right.
and, everything that goes with that. And I have a real estate company and 12 agents. So,
I'd be
we got a little
completely
bit going
broke
on.
if
Yeah,
I did that.
we're not going to gamble with you. Just
Yeah.
a note to self here.
So,
Yeah,
so back to the Super Bowl. So, how'd you get your tickets? Did you? I mean, because for those of you who don't know, Brian, the Super Bowl, obviously, it's not like the World Series where it's played in the cities where the teams are from. It's always a neutral place. So, Miami was chosen as the location of the Super Bowl years ago. And
They must have known the Dolphins weren't going to win. No,
well,
sorry, Dan Marino. We loved you at the Super Bowl, though.
that was kind of a given.
That's
That's
funny.
like saying, well, I don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to win this year. But
watch this.
Oh,
Hold my beer.
Stop.
But Miami did
Possible.
help us because they beat the Patriots.
You know
which
what?
is
And so that game was astounding because Andy Reid did not let the score be displayed at
Right.
the game. And so we're all holding on our phones, like refreshing, and watching this unfold. And all of a sudden it erupts in Arrowhead that the Dolphins have
We
done
saw
this. And
that
it's
on
just
TV.
like,
Yeah.
Right.
we're screaming as fans
Right.
and we're so excited. Our heart is beating so fast. And then all of a sudden this whole thing comes together and
It
it's
was
like
magic.
I mean, all of the
Right.
stars really aligned for the Chiefs.
No
it
doubt
was
about
magical.
50 years.
Mahomes magic is what
Yeah.
they call it.
But it's kind of funny too because like the whole thing where the coaches they've done that forever where we're not going to we tell the scoreboard guy don't put it on the scoreboard, and that worked back in the days when there was one scoreboard and it had little bitty lights and all that, and no one had a phone.
That would have been in 1969 when the
Right.
Chiefs were
But-
playing for the
but
first
now,
Super Bowl championship. Right.
Everybody in the stadium's
Right.
watching, and the funny thing was, for those of us who were watching at home, it was
Kevin
hilarious
Harlan.
because Kevin Harlan was calling both games
Right.
simultaneously.
I watched that later,
Oh.
and it was so awesome. And he
But
said,
you-
"I'm probably going to get in trouble for doing this." And I was like,
Not
"Who
so much.
even
Nobody.
cares?" It was
he
so awesome.
When he was doing it live, it was outstanding.
really,
It was.
really was something to
we
see.
couldn't.
Right.
I mean, I was one of those people. I'm trying to find. I was like, "Where is that game? Where is that game?" And I'm trying to find.
You didn't have
it.
to do that.
I didn't have to do it because he was calling both games, and even the guy with him was Romo doing that game. I think. Even asked him. He goes,
I believe that's right.
or no,
Yeah.
or
Well,
whoever it was goes, "What game are you calling?" And he
Yeah,
goes,
what
"I'm
I think it
calling
was
both
Romo.
of
I
them."
think you're right. I'm calling them both.
Yeah.
So you asked
So-
about the tickets, and we
Yeah,
are
how'd
very
you-
blessed in that we have some amazing connections. And I've got some best friends here in Kearney. Actually, their daughter goes to Kearney, and we support the tennis. I sponsor the tennis there in Kearney for them, and they know a ticket broker. So the ticket broker said, if you can wait until the last minute, I will promise you amazing seats. And we gave them a budget to work with, which I'm going to call the experience priceless.
sure, exactly.
So we gave them a budget to work with, and we just said, we want amazing seats. And at the last minute Sunday morning, he said, guess what? You guys are going to sit really close to where you sit, basically at the Chiefs Stadium, which we are 6 rows behind the Chiefs bench.
Oh man,
We were 20 rows back.
That's great.
But basically right behind the Chiefs bench in the Hard Rock Dome or whatever you call that there, Hard Rock Stadium.
Right.
And it was phenomenal, but we didn't know until that morning. But I trust this person wholeheartedly, obviously, to go to
clearly-
Miami and do this.
Clearly
But
you were already there.
yeah, we were already there. We planned to go, and we just went knowing that this was the way it was going to go and that Chuck would handle it and we were all good. So it was awesome.
Nicely
and
done, Chuck.
yeah, if you only knew, he's an amazing person. He also got me one of the best 30th birthday presents ever. I had front row to Kiss, Knight Rider.
Oh, don't even mention that to Jim now. You won't stop him. We got to take a break.
Hang on, before
Stay
we
with
go,
us.
I got a question.
All right, hurry,
Brian's
Jim,
going to
hurry.
yell at me. I know we got to get to the money makers, but on TV, it appeared that there were far more Chiefs fans than 49ers fans. Did it feel like that in the stadium?
Yes, and our Chiefs fans have a much different vibe than the 49ers fans do. So it was well evident that the Chiefs fans were all into it.
There you go.
Take us to break, Jim.
Brian does it just like they do at the Oscars. When you don't shut up, he brings
cuts you off.
and the music starts. But anyway, you're listening to Kearney Live on 102.7 FM KPGZ. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay with us.
Without the support of community underwriters, we wouldn't be here. So a huge thanks to these particular businesses for supporting KPGZ.
Simplify your banking, simplify your life. It's easy with Kearney Trust Company. The world has become fast-paced, and we understand that you are busy. That's why we offer a banking experience that's as simple and stress-free as can be. Kearney Trust goes beyond convenient locations and good customer care to offer banking services that make managing your finances quicker and easier than ever before. Online, bill pay, e-statements, and mobile banking are available to give you a positive banking experience so you can get back to your life and activities. Kearney Trust also provides capital to people and businesses so they can achieve their goals. Whether you know exactly what you want or just need someone to talk to about your dream, you can speak with them and work on that dream. You may just be getting off the ground or ready to move into your brick and mortar building. Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And welcome back to Kearney Live. I just noticed that our guest today, we have Jennifer Justus in here, and Jennifer was dancing to the bumper music. That was pretty cool. Yeah. So I did want to mention too, there is a real reason that Jennifer is here today. She is with the Clay County Constitution Advisory Committee. Last week, you might remember, I don't know how to remember much, but I do remember last week that Jason Whittington, I believe I was mispronouncing his name, and Jason, correct me if at any time, I was saying Withington.
I thought you said like Westinghouse at one point.
That might have
or something
been.
Like
Jason Westinghouse, right.
Made the better light bulb.
Well,
or
Jason,
like that.
who is also with the Clay County Constitution Advisory Committee, was great on the show last week. In fact, I think it was one of our most popular shows on replay and just overall reach.
Maybe it's because I wasn't here.
People, we have to listen to Jim Dickerson waste our
My ratings
time.
are better nationally, but locally we go down just a little bit. So
Well, so I like just shifting back to if I don't know that we ever were really on the rails today, but Jennifer.
No, and what happens when I'm here? We're off the rails every time.
And it's precious little time spent on the rails.
Yeah, you can't get him off the Super
No,
Bowl.
no. Well, I don't
Hey,
blame
that's
him.
okay. That's okay.
You know what?
I love
What about
sports,
that
you know?
Super Bowl?
Yes, and and isn't it fun that we can still enjoy it? What are we, 3 weeks out?
Oh,
3
we
weeks?
get to enjoy this until
the next
August
Super Bowl.
at least,
Yeah.
because we'll start, training camp and everything, and we'll still be the world champions all the way through. So,
I
yeah,
could not agree more.
yeah, we get to enjoy it for a while.
Well, Jennifer, you are involved in addition to being in the real estate business. You are involved in local politics. and you are a part of the Clay, as I mentioned earlier, the Clay County Constitution Advisory Committee, which you share a post along with Jason, who was on here last week. And when you first came in today, I kind of thought, well, we talked a little. Didn't we cover this last week? And you said, well, yeah, okay, but let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. And you and I had a conversation just briefly before we went on the air about any number of things that might be more solution oriented versus the you got to know the problem before you can get to a solution. Well, we talked about the problems, let's just say a lot last
We have
week.
lots of conversations about the problems. And then I think people get sidetracked and get away from the solutions. And sometimes they're even arguing over menial things. And so it's really important, I think, to bring the public together to stay focused. And we were talking about only 3,000 members on the Facebook page, and we have, I believe, about 250,000 citizens in Clay County. So what I'd love to see is more citizens get involved. And as a matter of fact, we'll have another meeting tonight at iWorks in North Kansas City. So that's a big facility. Lots of people can come out, and we welcome the public to come out, give us input. We want to hear from the public. We want to educate and engage citizens so that we can all have a better Clay County.
What time is that meeting tonight?
It is at 7 p.m. at iWorks in North Kansas City. I believe that's 1520 Clay Street in North Kansas City. And don't speed because my husband's a cop down there. No, I'm just kidding. He won't be on duty after 7.
It is a terrific event center.
Yes, they've done a really great job with that. As a matter of fact, that idea has bloomed. I hear they have one in Gladstone now as well. So it's really bloomed and it's really blossomed and it's become a great business center for a lot of people.
Yeah, outstanding. So that's tonight if you want to get involved and find out a little bit more about what we've been talking about.
And there's one more meeting Wednesday at 7 p.m. the following Wednesday. We've had them every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the last 8 weeks. And that will be at the Gladstone iWorks, I believe, and feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or any of those methods or on Keeping Clay County Clean, and we'll give you that information. We're happy to try and help the citizens figure out where we're at.
Right. Jennifer Justus, you can just type that in on Facebook, and I got right to her. Well, I got to your personal Facebook page. But
that's fine.
Right. Yeah, like we see pictures of your kids and all kinds of things and your husband and Super Bowl pictures, and woohoo, that's awesome.
Yes.
So, but yeah, please, call the radio station. Brian will find out. I know from
and Brian, I'll give you my phone number if you want to have them call or text me. I'm a pretty open book, and you said local politics, but I'm also involved nationally with the realtors, and I do a lot on protecting home ownership, private property rights. We advocate for flood insurance. That's been a big problem in Missouri, so we do a lot on flood insurance and Fannie and Freddie, which are government-backed lending institutions. People don't know it, but there's a push sometimes for that to be privatized. And if that was done, it would likely require a 20% down payment of all buyers. That would really, really hurt our economy and our market. So I do a lot of different things nationally and locally. I love being the change I wish to see. And I think these are things that can help us, as well as keep real estate investment safe for our youth and keep Clay County hopefully flowing in a good direction, because we have a lot of potential here.
When I hear you say things like that, like be the change you hope to see, busy people might say, right, whatever. And I'm being serious here. And they might say, how do I have time to do all of these other things on my to-do list, and none of those are done, and be involved?
I would ask them how much TV they're watching, first of all.
There you go.
Because I don't watch TV unless it's Chiefs. I don't. That's just something for me. But we all have the same amount of time in a day. There's a lot of people that look at me and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you get all this done. I'm the PTO president in Smithville for Horizon Elementary. I was our local advocacy chair last year. I am our NAR liaison for the Major Investor Council for National Association of Realtors for Missouri. I'm an NAR director. I mean, I could list out a lot of things here.
I have the list of things you don't do here, and it's pretty short.
Yeah, but
I don't watch a lot of TV.
But you have hit on a huge thing, and so the funny thing is, and it doesn't matter what it is. It can be politics. It can be something as simple as a restaurant. And my favorite thing, not really, to see people do is when they'll get on Facebook or Twitter or whatever the case is, and the number one, this is not okay. And they sit there like that really, okay. You fix that problem. And my thing is, so in a restaurant is a good example, because if you go look at reviews on restaurants, people feel like they are the king or queen when they walk in. And even if they go to a restaurant it's not a 5-star restaurant, I'll just put it that way, but they feel like they should be catered to like they're paying a $500 dinner. And just because they didn't get their ice or their water with 6 cubes in it or whatever the silliness is, they get on like
2 stars.
They're the authority on restaurant. Now, they've never owned one before, but they'll sure give a lot of advice on how to run a restaurant. And that still applies to anything financial or whatever else. There's so many people that get on and they are the authority on, well, this is how the city should do this. But they've never run a city. They've never run a budget. And some of them, quite frankly, to be 100% honest and watch the complaints come in on this one, can't even run their own home personal budget. But they're the authority on how
Call
the city.
Dave Ramsey. No.
Yeah, they're the authority on how the city should do it. So what you just said really hits home with me. If you want to make a difference, get off your butt and go out there and make a difference. Go do something like you're saying.
We talked about this a little bit last week, Jim. There are so many places right here on these computers that we have in front of us that you can go to find out good news, good information. You can find out places to get involved. You can arm yourself with the knowledge that is required to get involved from a position, from a standpoint of, well, knowledge of where you know what the issues are and being able to respond to it in a way like becoming involved with these committees or going to council meetings or just showing up local for a Board of Aldermen meeting.
Absolutely.
Things of that nature. And those are good places to start.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing you can use technology for, and I know in Clay County, maybe some of our electeds are not as responsive as we'd like, but what I found in Missouri is our House of Representatives or our senators are very responsive when I have an issue that I email them or call their office about. So I've been very pleased with that. And I think citizens take that for granted, that is still an effective means of communication with your elected officials, whether and nationally too. And I hear the same thing sometimes nationally, that maybe they don't respond as well or whatever. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Keep doing it.
Right.
You know, we were talking earlier about wars, for example. You may have lost the battle, but don't lose the war. Keep going. Keep consistent, because that's what, you know, just like being on the treadmill every week.
Up.
Yes, please don't give up. Please keep going.
But so you hear so many people say, it doesn't matter. I can't make a difference. And so I'm going to argue
that's head
that
trash,
point.
by the way.
It is, because here's a couple of things. Number one, if you don't think you can make a difference, if you're going to sit at home and type on your computer, that's not okay.
Henry
You're right.
Ford, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't,
You will.
you are right.
Well, there's that.
Love that.
But so sitting at home on your computer and typing, this is not okay. You're right. That isn't going to get anything done. But Jerry Nolte has made it very clear several times on this program. You have to go contact people and let them know what you're doing, whether you go to the meetings like you're talking about or you contact someone directly. But when you do it, also have a point. If you're going to sit there and just complain endlessly, people are going to stop listening. You need to suggest then a solution, and it has to be a workable solution.
And be clear, be concise. One of the biggest things I see, especially at Kansas City, Missouri City Council meetings I was involved in, some rental ordinances that they had that I thought would be very harmful to our housing in Kansas City and negate affordable housing, which we're all working for. I would see people get up and testify, and more complaining than anything else, be clear and be concise, because that gets your point across faster than anything else. And if you ramble on, people forget what you were going to say. So just give it a little bit of thought, 1, 2, 3, and then be done with it and move on, because it's important and we want to hear what you have to say, but we need you to do it in a clear and concise fashion.
And then suggest a solution,
Absolutely.
A workable solution. Don't make it ridiculous, but if you really put some thought into it. And I've actually, it was kind of interesting because I talked to Jerry at a dinner or something a couple of months ago, and I said, hey, here's something that came up. Here's the problem. here's what I recommend is the solution. And you know what? He took it and it happened.
Right.
And it was simple. But I could have stood there for 20 minutes and just gone on, and he'd have been like, okay, have a nice day.
Yeah, we don't
Bye.
need a filibuster. Yeah.
Yeah. But I said, hey, here's the problem. Here's how I think we could really fix this. It took 2 minutes, in and out, done, and fixed.
And I'm sure he remembered a lot more of it because you did it that way.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm saying. So if I just stand there and everybody knows I can derail a project like anybody's business.
Not
Do you see
Jim.
a lot of squirrels? Is that your deal?
Oh, man, I have a squirrel menagerie going on at home, but that's neither here nor there. But so no, if you really if you want to make a difference, go out and make a difference. I mean,
Yeah, don't be afraid to stand up and
I
make
would
a
offer
point.
this.
Yeah.
I would offer this, that nobody's expecting you to solve the world's problems.
No. It takes us all, by the
in
way.
our representative form of government, it's very easy, as you mentioned, to get a hold of your local representatives at the state level, which is really pretty darn good. And you don't have to have the solution necessarily, but if you go to the right people and you make your voice heard, like you mentioned, Jim, I think it's pretty easy to set things in motion, just like Jerry did in your, I thought, what is an excellent example. And Jerry spent, I don't know how long, in the Missouri, as a Missouri state representative. And that's, to me, one of the most impressive things about that guy. I mean, he is a friend, but
Right.
let me just tell you, even if he wasn't, he's really responsive. And I think once you start understanding that, as you mentioned, you've got the ability to make a phone call to Jefferson City and actually have somebody answer the phone who will at least listen and perhaps take action on whatever it is that's on your mind.
And people might not know this, but it's open. So the Missouri Realtors actually go down to Jefferson City to the Capitol, and we go basically door to door and visit
the People's Building.
It is the People's Building, and they are open to you coming in. They want to see you. They're happy when you correspond with them. And the White House, and I should say the Capitol, not the White House. Don't just go to the White House. They will frown upon that. So don't say Jennifer said you could go to the White House. But the Capitol is pretty much open. There are very few legislators there that have any notes on their door that say you have to schedule an appointment. You knock on the door, you talk to their aide, and they will try and get you in, even in Washington, D.C.
Jennifer Justus
you
is with
have
us
to
today.
have
Jim,
a
we're
point.
getting ready to go to break. Jennifer Justus is with us today. We are getting ready to take a break. Stay with us. You're Kearney Live.
Corporate underwriters of KPGZ programming include these fine businesses.
Simplify your banking, simplify your life. It's easy with Kearney Trust Company. The world has become fast-paced, and we understand that you are busy. That's why we offer a banking experience that's as simple and stress-free as can be. Kearney Trust goes beyond convenient locations and good customer care to offer banking services that make managing your finances quicker and easier than ever before. Online, bill pay, e-statements, and mobile banking are available to give you a positive banking experience so you can get back to your life and activities. Kearney Trust also provides capital to people and businesses so they can achieve their goals. Whether you know exactly what you want or just need someone to talk to about your dream, you can speak with them and work on that dream. You may just be getting off the ground or ready to move into your brick and mortar building. Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
We need Take Me Home, Pat.
That's Brian Watts right there taking care of production this morning.
And for those of you who don't know, when we were in the break, we have a can of worms in this studio open and worms everywhere. Gonna have to clean them all up here in a minute.
I just cannot
That's
tell
what
you.
happens when you bring me in.
Oh,
I bring the worms out. I'll clean them up when I go. Don't
I
worry.
had a suspicion that might happen when Jennifer Justus is with us today, and I thought that perhaps this might just... And Jim, we have two derailers going on in here, but two very interesting people to have on the air nonetheless. I did want to mention real quickly, Jim, Scott Middleton and Tanya Howes, who are with Kearney Trust Company, who is the flagship sponsor of this very show. And I won't say that without them we wouldn't be here, but let me just tell you, they got us off to a really nice start with this very program. We appreciate everything you do for us, and certainly everything that you've done for the community here in Kearney, Missouri for a century. I mean, forever. So thanks so much. Great having you as a sponsor. We appreciate you. Jim.
Okay, good. Let's complain about some. No, I'm just kidding.
We're back.
But I do have so one of the things we've talked about is, you can make a difference and all that. And there are probably some people, because we were talking about Clay County government, and anybody who's been watching this show knows that we've talked about what's going on with Clay County government quite a bit, and it continues and continues and continues. And some people, and I've heard them say, well, we've tried to make a difference, but it just keeps going. And it goes back to what you said. This is with the Clay County thing with Luann and Jean, this is more of a long-term battle. And for those of you who have been so
War.
Yeah.
War. And by the way, this has been going on apparently a long time. I have not been involved as long as some people have, just age. I'm not, seasoned in that, but I understand. Number one, we are operating under the same rules that we have been operating under since 1881, which I think we might be due for an update if we've been operating that long. But
Mike was there when that was written. Go ahead.
Well, he should tell us more.
No, I like the way you described age. You said seasoned.
Yeah.
Like a good steak.
That's right. That's right.
Kind of tender and pink in the middle.
Right. But this is so... Jean and Luann, people want to throw the stones at them, and I completely understand. But there have been other people that have come before that have been a problem. And then I've heard stories about, this department suing this department, and it's not been isolated to just the sheriff suing the commissioners and so forth and so on. We've had the prosecuting attorney has apparently, and not Dan White, but before Dan White, we had a prosecuting attorney, I understand, that was involved in some other issues and harassing another department, and they were suing each other or something like that. But this problem is not new.
Sue everyone.
It's not.
Well, and hopefully if we can get a different form of government, we would eliminate some of the need for suing another department, because right. It could be more, part elected. It could be anything that we want to write in a constitution determined by who gets appointed by the judges. But we could fix some of these items, hopefully, with that, and then maybe not have the exorbitant legal fees that we've had.
And we've got two problems. Well, we've got more than two problems, but there's too many.
Yeah,
three problems.
That's quite an understatement there, sir.
Include me. I'm the third problem. But no, we have a couple of problems. And number one, yes, it's been going on far too long. And you've got this form of government in Clay County where you have a three-person deal, and obviously, and I'm surprised, honestly, it hasn't come up earlier than it has. It kind of has in the past, but so if you have two that are going to gang up on the one, then the one's never going to get anything done, and we know exactly how that's going. Number two, now we have this ongoing battle over the audit and everything associated with it, and we had to deal with the sheriff's department and everything associated with it. My biggest problem with this is, number one, we're fighting this battle that has it has no positive outcome no matter how you look at it. So we're wasting all this money on legal fees, and to what end? It's not like we're trying to save the county, or we're going to do this, or if we don't do this, the possibility is we're talking about an audit. Just let the stupid thing go and let's do it and be done with it instead of fighting it. And if someone were going to audit me personally, I would say, all right, have at it.
Knock it out, right? Let's get this over with.
If I fight it and fight it and fight it, then I'm just basically saying there's something that I probably don't want you to see.
That was what I was going to say. If you challenge this audit, or if you're saying, please don't look at my records, what are you in essence saying?
And that's my whole thing. There's no end game to this. What's the point? Number one, that audit is going to happen eventually. Eventually, it's going to happen. Now, the problem is we're wasting taxpayers' money. That's your money to fight something that's going to happen anyway. And I just don't understand what the end game is here. And the bigger thing, and I know Mike gets all riled up about this, is accountability.
Right.
So at the end,
accountability, transparency, all of these things that we should have in government. And for whatever reason, we're not having those right now in Clay County. We certainly need them, and the citizens are demanding them, but getting them, it just seems impossible. And I agree with you. To what end? Why are we wasting this money? Why are things going this way? Why are people hiding? Why don't they answer questions? If it were me, and one thing I always say is, you can start doing the right thing at any time. So you may have done 1,000 things wrong, right? You weren't there for your kid. I could name off 100 things, right? But at any point in time, you can go, you know what? I'm going to wake up today, and today is the day that this is going to change. And I say that to Jean and Luann too. Maybe they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. I guess maybe there is that perception, because we all come with our own paradigm of things, right?
Oh,
so
boy.
maybe that's the perception that they have. However, I think in the public's eyes, they would have a different opinion.
When you're talking about other people's money, you're in the way that it's been squandered here in Clay County, you're not doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
Let's just be honest about it.
But the point is that at any point in time, you could say, you know what? Let's just clean this up and get this audit going. Let's just let them in, give them the records, and get this going. You can do that today. That can happen today. I wish it would, because it would solve a lot of problems.
yeah, then we could move on.
Right? And that's one less thing we would have to deal with. That's one less waste of money. And our citizens would feel better about things. And guess what? We still have an election coming up. So we can all go out and vote and hopefully change this. Okay? But it would be nice if people would start doing the right thing and become transparent and speak to the questions that are asked of them. That's one thing that is, and sign public notices. That would be something else I think that would be very nice.
Well, I guess part of my thing is too, it almost seems like we're going to keep this going, and then we have an election coming up, and then when I lose the election, it'll all kind of go away because I'll be out of it. And I'm hoping that if there is something there, it comes back to the accountability where you don't get out of free jail.
No, you should not get a pass
just because
you wasted citizens' money or didn't do the right thing.
And then you didn't get reelected.
No, that should not be a pass. And historically, I guess I don't know how that's gone in politics, if they have come behind people and done things, but that you're right. They should not get it. No one should get a pass if they're doing the wrong thing with other people's money.
There's all sorts of things that come along with that. So from a legal standpoint, I mean, everybody's like, well, they should go to jail. Well, you got to have a reason, a criminal offense first. And maybe there's something there, maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just complete, which is probably more than likely the case, just complete fiduciary irresponsibility across the board that you don't want anybody to see. But, like we said, eventually they're going to see it. I mean, eventually the audit's going to happen. Now, you would like to see some accountability later, but we'll see how that goes.
I agree.
I don't know. But anyway, get out and vote for sure, and then get involved, like the meeting you're talking about tonight or whatever the case may be.
And commission meetings, they're typically, I believe, every other Monday at 10 a.m. I try and make those when I can. That's another place you can get involved, and they do usually have public speaking so that you can, talk on particular points. They do want you to stay on topic. So whatever the motion is or ordinance or whatever it is that they're bringing up there, they want you to stay on topic, and they will redirect you if you don't. So you can't just come in and say, well, I hate you guys. You guys are dirty,
Right.
rotten scoundrels. No, it can't be about that. You need to come with whatever your problem is relating to what's coming up on the agenda, and they do usually post those online, and then what the solution is, and it needs to be on topic.
Yeah, I know Jerry is really good about, and it's not just Jerry, but there's a whole slew of places where the agenda goes out, the meeting notice goes out, the time date goes out, and they're typically the same every other week, I think it is. If
Every
that's
other
right.
week. I believe 10 a.m. every other week is pretty religious. Once in a while, they have something that, and then they have special ones sometimes that, you can go in. So it just depends. But again, you're right. They do a pretty good job of keeping people posted. And with the technology that we have these days, reach out. It's easily found.
Yeah, it's out there.
You looked at me like I knew.
Well, no, because
Aren't you internet savvy over there? That's what we're talking about.
I'm surfing the interwebs even as we speak right here. So
we mentioned the accountability,
right,
and I was waiting for you to jump in because I know
and be accountable is what you wanted me to be. I'm not sure I am.
He's taken a week off since you were gone last week.
I am. I'm sitting back here enjoying the show. I'm just listening to you two really talk about really meaningful stuff here. In fact, I was looking here at Jason Whittington in A Better Clay County. Right here is one of the websites that it's actually a Facebook page that Jason referred to quite a few times last week on the show. And I think that's a really good place to start when we talk about, sort of educating yourself on the issues and being aware of what's going on here locally. One of the other things, too, it made me think of when we were talking about politics at the national level versus the local level, particularly in an election year for a general election for president. People tend to put their sole focus on the presidential election and or your congressional representatives, and tend to at times, I think, overlook the ballot for local, for Clay County or wherever you live.
There's lots of things on that ballot.
There's tons of them.
Judges.
Exactly right. And I think
your commissioners.
But here's what happens, Jennifer. I think folks just by the time they get down to the state ballot, to the state level, a lot of it is what we talked about last week. You tend to vote on name recognition. And you wonder how some of these people stay in office for so long. People just say, yeah, well, I don't know. It seems like everything's doing, it's going just fine. So I'm going to vote for this person whose name I recognize. Now, that's a problem. And these may indeed be the same people who are complaining that we need term limits. Well, let me tell you how easy that is. Get yourself into the booth and strike the lever for the person that you are ready to limit their term and vote no. That's
right.
how easy it is.
That is how you limit the terms. And that's, something that we hear in these charter meetings is that people are like, well, we kind of already have term limits in a way because we have reelections. But you're exactly right. What we see is people do vote on name recognition because, unfortunately, people don't have the time to educate themselves maybe like they should, or they're watching Grey's Anatomy or whatever's on these days. I don't know what it is.
It's not that they don't have time. It's
it's just not their priority, and we all have to pick our priorities. And so when you look at name recognition, unfortunately, if the better candidate is not willing to go out there and spend quite a fair amount of money, they might not be able to get that name recognition.
But the other thing you have to keep in mind, and I request that people do this, learn about your candidate, spend the minimal, you're voting, and it's very important because look at how much money we've wasted in Clay County.
I guarantee you, Jim, every single one of those candidates has a Facebook page.
Well, and what I'm saying is it's not a popularity contest. You need somebody who's going to handle your money properly.
And it's not student council in high school.
No, this is very important. And I think the problem is over time, we've gotten into all this, people are more worried about, oh, I like them because they wore a red shirt. Who cares? This is a little more in depth than a popularity contest.
Yes.
So learn about the background.
Smarten up.
We've had, we've had some people in here who are running for different Clay County positions, and what we try to get into is what their background is.
Right.
What is their, and we, when we had some of the people who were running for the commission, we specifically asked them, what is your background? What qualifies you to run for this position? Not, that's a very nice suit. That looks very good. I like that guy. He has a good suit.
Right. We were able to find out that many of them are business owners.
In this day and age, honestly, people should be able to do really good research on what's out there.
Exactly.
And so if people would just take, 30 minutes of their day, I know they're probably scrolling Facebook anyways, and jump over there and just see what these people are doing, what they look like. Just Google their name.
Right.
Just Google their name and
is-
see if that's something that resonates with you. And I'm hoping that with all the trouble that we've had in Clay County, that we will bring a little bit of that focus back to our local politics.
Right.
I know we've got a big election. I know that, the presidential election is highly controversial, as it always is, I think. But
when is that again?
that would be in November. And by the
That's
way,
the
we're
third,
going to
right?
have another
November
vote.
3rd?
The low voter turnout is typically in April. And on
Right.
April 7th, the constitutional question for the Clay County Charter will be on the ballot. So
Get out there.
please, Clay
Mark your
County
calendar.
citizens,
Right.
turn out and vote in April. And by the way, an April election is not any less important than a November election.
Right, exactly.
I don't know why this happens, because you should vote in every election. I get that maybe your kid was sick one day, or, you had an accident, or whatever the excuse is. That is essentially what it is, regardless of
Right.
what it is. It is an excuse, but things do happen, and you can't vote in every election, maybe.
Right,
But
right.
a school board election is important too, because by the way, they're going to be making decisions on children.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's
your children.
they're all important. So I can't stress the importance of that.
I hear you.
It's all about priorities. And back in my in a previous career, there was a judge that he used to always say, I'll even say his name was Jim Reed, and I always remembered him because it was the same name from the guy from Adam 12, Jim Reed. But Judge Reed would bring people up in front of him, and they would come in with excuses of why they didn't make their last court date, why they didn't pay their fine, and he would always, he would say, look, it's all about priorities. Let me ask you this. If you came to court here and I told you I was going to give you $100, would you have shown up? And the guy's like, yeah.
There
He's
you
like,
go.
see, you can make it. Or
Yeah,
he'd
but you
say-
would have made that $100 because
Right.
then you wouldn't have had that fine.
But
So
I-
essentially,
the point, he would always, he would lead people down the path, and every time they'd go for it. And the point is, when it comes to these elections, learn what you're voting for. It's all about priorities. You can get there, because believe me, if there was, you could get there.
Jim Dickerson's going to be giving away $100 bills at the in front of every polling station. So be there or be square.
Only a couple of polling
Right.
stations.
maybe
I
we
can't
can do a
make all of
drawing.
them.
Let's
Wouldn't
take
that
it
be
to a
fun?
drawing.
I hope it never comes to that. You've been listening to Kearney Live. Thanks so much for being with us. Next week, we'll have Kathy Meinert. She's with the Kearney Senior Center. I promise she'll be here next week. Thanks so much for being with us today. We'll see you then.